Today we're reviewing for lessons 2-4 through 2-7 for pre-algebra. This is to review for your upcoming quiz. The first 4 problems we'll do have to do with finding each quotient. Quotient means divide, so we're going to focus on dividing 325 divided by 25. Now 325 has a negative sign, so the rule when you have one negative and one positive and you divide is the answer is going to be negative. But we're still just focusing on dividing 325 divided by 25, which is going to give us 13. Now, since one is negative and one is positive, my answer is going to be negative 13. The next problem, 244 divided by negative 4. This is again one negative and one positive. If I divide 244 divided by 4, I get 61. So my answer is going to be negative 61. Then we have a negative 54 divided by negative 18. So if we divide 54 divided by 18, we get 3. And since there are 2 negatives, when we divide a negative by a negative, we get a positive. So it's going to be positive 3. In the last division, we have 121 divided by 11. Both of those are positive, so we're just going to focus on the fact that it's positive for our answer. And 121 divided by 11 is 10. The next problem asks us to find the average or the mean of these numbers. To find the average or the mean of numbers, you need to add all of the numbers together and then divide by how many numbers there are. So we need to add 6 plus negative 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 7 plus negative 1. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers. So once we get our answer, we're going to divide by 6. So we need to add 6 plus negative 3. And whenever you're adding integers, meaning you have positives and negatives in there, you need to take the numbers 2 at a time and apply the rules to each set. So 6 plus negative 3, when I'm adding a negative and a positive, I subtract and I take the higher number sign. So 6 plus negative 3 is going to give me positive 3. Then I can take the next two numbers, 2 plus 1. That's also going to give me positive 3. And then the next two numbers, 7 plus negative 1. And that we are subtracting and taking the higher number sign, so that's going to give us 6, positive 6. So if I add them all together, I get 3 plus 3 plus 6. 3 plus 3 is 6, and 6 plus 6 is 12. So my answer is 12. Then I need to divide the 12 by how many numbers there are, which there were 6. So my mean or average of the answer here is 2. Here we're going to name the ordered pair for each point graphed on the coordinate plane. So if we look at the coordinate plane, let's look at A. A, it looks like from the origin we go nowhere on the x-axis, and we go down 2 on the y-axis. So our ordered pair is x comma y. So my x-coordinate is going to be 0 for letter A because we don't go anywhere on the x-axis. And we went down 2 on the y-axis, so that makes my y-coordinate negative 2. So that's for letter A. Letter B, we go 4 from the origin. So the origin, I mean, is the middle, the very middle right here. So we're going 4 from that point to the right for my x coordinate, and then I'm going 3 up for my y coordinate, which gives me 4, 3 for letter B. And then for letter C, from the origin, the white point here in the center, we're going to go 3 over to the left, which makes my x coordinate be -3, and then 2 up on the y-axis, which gives me my y-coordinate to be +2. So that is for letter C. Now we're going to graph and label each of these points. So D is 3, -2. Remember, it's x, comma, y. So I'm going to go to the origin here and start at the middle, and then I go over to the right 3 and down 2, which is going to give me my point D right there. And then point E is -4, -4. This was point D. So -4, -4, again from the middle, I'm going to go to the left for my x to be -4, and then down for my y to be -4. So this would be E. Here we're asked to translate the point -4, 3, and we're translating it by going 6 units to the right and 4 units down. There's 2 different ways to do this problem. The easiest way for me would be to just take the numbers how they are and think of it as if you're going 6 units to the right on a coordinate plane, that means you're going to the positive side of the x-axis here. So that means I'm going to be adding 6 to my x-coordinate, or -4 plus 6, which gives me +2. And then if I'm going 4 units down on the y-axis, and the y-axis would be down here, if I go 4 units down, that means subtracting by 4 for the y-coordinate. So the y-coordinate here is 3. I'm going to subtract 4 and get -1. And that's going to give me my ordered pair, 2, -1, that I've translated from the ordered pair they gave me, -4, 3. Now you could also do this on the actual graph. And if I were to do that, my original point is here, -4, 3, and if it tells me to go 6 to the right, I just would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and put my point there. Well, actually, I need to also do the translation to the y coordinate, and that meant we're going 4 down. So originally, coming from the pink dot here, I'm now going 6 to the right and 4 down from that. So that means 4 down, whoops, means I go from 3 on the y-axis down 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's going to put me at right here, which is negative, whoops, which is at -1. So you can see that my point here is 2, -1 after I've translated it. Here we're asked to tell the coordinates of the point 3, -6 after it's been reflected over the y-axis. The easiest way to remember this is if you're reflecting over the y-axis, the y-coordinate stays the same. And the x-coordinate is the opposite sign. So if we look at our point, 3, negative 6, and I'm reflecting this point over the y-axis, my y-coordinate is still going to be negative 6, but my x-coordinate is going to be opposite of 3, which is negative 3. So my new point is negative 3, negative 6. Here we have a graph of a triangle, and the points we have here are 5, 3, 4, negative 2, and 0, negative 3. I also have them listed here. And it says triangle DEF is translated 3 units to the left and 3 units up. What are the coordinates of the vertices of the image? So image means the new triangle. So if we're going 3 units to the left and 3 units up, we're going to think about 4, negative 2, which is D. If I'm going 3 units to the left, think of the x-axis, that's going to be the negative part of the x-axis. So I'm going to subtract 3 from the x-coordinate. And then it says 3 units up, which would be the y-axis, that would be a positive part of the y-axis, so we're going to add 3 to our y-coordinates. So that also gives me 1. So my new coordinate for D is going to be 1, 1. We do the same thing for the next point, E. So E is 5, 3. If I'm subtracting 3 from the x, that gives me 2. If I'm adding 3 to the y, that gives me 6. So my new E is 2, 6. And then one more for F. I'm 3 units to the left, 3 units up, so 0, negative 3 was F. And that means I do 3 units to the left, which subtract 3 from 0 to get negative 3, and 3 units up means add 3 to the y-coordinate, which gives me 0. So my new F is going to be negative 3, 0. You can also do this on the actual graph. If we go back to the graph, you can actually physically move the point 3 units to the left and 3 units up, and you would get the same numbers. And one more where you have the vertices given to you, so you're going to graph the figure and its image, and the image means its new figure, and they want you to reflect over the x-axis. So what I would do first is I would make each new point, and then I'd graph each new point after I come up with what the coordinates need to be. So the last one, it said reflect over the y-axis. This is over the x-axis. So when the x-axis is what you're reflecting over, you keep the x-coordinates the same and the y-coordinates become opposites. So you have A is negative 2, 2. The x-coordinate would be the same since we're reflecting over the x-axis, but the y-coordinate would be opposite. So the new y-coordinate would be negative 2. Then we have B. Again, the x-coordinate is going to be the same, and we're going to do the opposite sign for the y-coordinate. And then C, x-coordinate stays the same, and the opposite for the y-coordinate. And D, x-coordinate stays the same, opposite for the y-coordinate. So what it wants me to do is graph this figure and then graph this figure, but we already have determined what the points are, so that makes it a little bit easier for us to graph. And that concludes lesson 2.4 through 2.7's quiz review for pre-algebra.